Have you ever wanted to take one tiny little seed and turn it into a full-blown plant that's just loaded with amazing peppers? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Growing chilies is so much more than just gardening. It's this awesome adventure in flavor. And trust me, it's way easier than you think. So let's get into it.
So here's the game plan for our journey today. First, we're going to talk about how to kick off your chili adventure by picking the perfect seeds. Then, we'll get into laying the right foundation for success. After that, it's all about the magic of germination, taking care of those little baby seedlings and then getting them ready for the great outdoors. And finally, we'll talk about how to end up with a happy, thriving chili plant. It's the whole shebang, from seed to harvest.
Okay, let's dive right in. Tip number 1, choosing your seeds. This might sound obvious, but this is, and I'm not kidding, maybe the most important decision you're going to make. It really sets the stage for everything else.
You know, it's about way more than just how hot a pepper is. You gotta think, do you want something fruity or maybe something smoky? What are you gonna use them for? A fresh salsa? Drying them out for a spice rub? And how much space do you have? A big tall plant or a smaller bushy one? And please, buy from a reputable source. It makes all the difference.
Now here's something you really need to know. The difference between Open-Pollinated and F1 Hybrid seeds. To put it simply, if you want to save seeds from your chilies to plant next year, you have to go with Open-Pollinated. F1 hybrids are awesome. They're often stronger and more disease-resistant, but their seeds won't grow the same plant. You'll have to buy new ones each season.
On to tip number 2, giving your seeds a little head start. Now these steps are technically optional, but trust me on this one, I highly recommend them, especially if you're growing some of those super hot varieties that can take forever to sprout.
We've got a couple of easy tricks to help wake up those sleepy seeds. Soaking them is a great start. Think of it like a nice warm bath. You can use lukewarm water or even some cooled chamomile tea, which actually helps prevent fungus. And for the really tough seeds, a gentle little scratch with sandpaper, it's called scarification, can be the magic key.
But what if you have some old seeds and you're not sure if they're still any good? Well, the paper towel test is your best friend. It's a super simple way to check if they're viable before you go through the trouble of planting them. Just follow these steps and in a few days, you'll know exactly what you're dealing with.
And what that little test gives you is a really powerful piece of info called the germination rate. So if 8 out of your 10 seeds sprouted, hey, you've got an 80% germination rate. That's fantastic information because it tells you if you need to plant a few extra seeds just to make sure you get the number of plants you actually want.
Moving right along to tip number 3. So our seeds are prepped and ready to go. Now we need to get their very first home set up just right. We're going to create the perfect nursery.
Okay, listen up, because this is the golden rule, and I absolutely cannot stress this enough. Do not, under any circumstances, use soil from your garden to start seeds. It's probably the #1 mistake beginners make. That soil is full of bugs, weed seeds, and nasty diseases that can kill your tiny seedlings before they even have a chance.
And that is exactly why you need to use a dedicated seed starting mix. This stuff is the best. First off, it's sterile, which means it prevents a horrible disease called damping off. It's also super light and fluffy, which is great for drainage and getting oxygen to the roots. And it's low in nutrients, which is perfect for delicate little seedlings that can't handle strong fertilizers yet.
As for containers, you've got a ton of options. You can go with seed trays, biodegradable peat pots, or even just make your own out of old yogurt cups. But, and this is the one non-negotiable rule, whatever you choose, it absolutely, positively must have drainage holes in the bottom.
All right, it's time for the main event. Tip number 4 is all about planting with precision. You've done all this great prep work, and now this simple step, just sowing the seed properly, is what will really set it up for success.
And here it is, the magic number. You want to plant most chili seeds about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. That's it. Think of it like the Goldilocks zone for seeds. If you go too shallow, they might dry out. But if you go too deep, they'll burn out all their energy just trying to reach the sunlight.
Spacing is also super important. You gotta give them a little elbow room, right? Planting them 1 inch or 2 apart means they won't have to fight each other for light, water, and all those good nutrients later on. This gives every single seedling the best shot at growing up big and strong.
Now let's talk watering, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret that the pros use: bottom watering. This is a total game changer. It encourages the roots to grow down deep to find water, which makes them stronger. Plus, it keeps the top of the soil a little drier, which helps prevent that nasty damping off disease we were just talking about.
Number 5, it's all about setting the right mood. You've done everything else perfectly. Now we just need to create a 5-star resort for your seeds so they're happy enough to germinate.
If there is one single thing your chili seeds crave more than anything else, it is warmth. Consistent, cozy warmth. Remember, these are tropical plants. They need heat to wake them up. This range right here, 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, that's their happy place. A seedling heat mat is honestly your best friend for making this happen.
And look, this chart says it all. You can see just how big a difference the temperature makes. If it's below 70 degrees, germination will slow to a crawl, or maybe it won't even happen at all. But once you get them into that optimal zone, things start happening so much faster.
Now, this next set of tips is where things get really interesting. You got to think of it as the fuel for your seedlings. Getting this right from day one is honestly the single most important factor for growing strong, healthy plants.
This right here, this is the #1 problem that beginners run into: legginess. You see, without enough intense light, seedlings desperately stretch towards whatever light they can find, and they become weak and spindly. To get that strong, compact growth, you absolutely need to provide strong, direct light from the very beginning.
So how do you do that? Well, a sunny window seems like the easiest option, but it often leads to that dreaded legginess because the light is all one-sided and, frankly, just not intense enough. For really reliable results, a simple grow light is your best friend. It gives you that consistent, direct overhead light that helps develop even, robust plants.
And it's not just about the intensity, it's also about the duration. Think of it like a workday for your plant. They need about 12 to 16 hours of good light to make energy, but then they also need 8 to 12 hours of total darkness to rest and actually grow. A simple outlet timer makes this a total set-it-and-forget-it task.
And #7, watering. Now this requires a really delicate balance because both overwatering and underwatering can be a complete disaster for your young seedlings. I love this analogy because it's perfect. The ideal soil moisture is like a well-wrung sponge, you know? It's damp, it holds water, but it's not saturated or dripping wet. That's the sweet spot for healthy root growth. Now, the best way to hit that perfect moisture level is by doing something called bottom watering. So instead of pouring water on top, you just let the soil wick it up from a tray below. This has two huge benefits. It encourages the roots to grow deep as they search for that moisture, and it keeps the surface of the soil and those delicate little stems dry, which really helps prevent disease. And let me just warn you, overwatering is the fastest way to kill your seedlings. I'm not kidding. Waterlogged soil literally suffocates the roots because it cuts off their oxygen supply. This creates the perfect conditions for something nasty called damping off, a fungal disease that just makes seedlings suddenly collapse and die.
Coming in at #8, all about giving your plants the right nutrients. But listen, timing is absolutely critical here.
This is a question that trips up a lot of people. It just feels natural to want to feed your new little babies, right? But you gotta hold off. For the first part of their life, they have all the energy they need packed right inside the seed itself.
The signal, the green light, if you will, to start feeding is the appearance of what we call true leaves. So the first two little leaves that pop up, those are called seed leaves. The next set of leaves, the ones that actually look like tiny chili plant leaves, those are the true leaves. Once those show up, the plant has used up its little lunchbox of stored energy and it's ready for some help.
And here is the safe way to do it. Because seedlings are so sensitive, you must, and I mean must, dilute a balanced liquid fertilizer to just 1/4 of the recommended strength. Anything stronger risks fertilizer burn, which can kill those delicate roots. A weak little dose every week or two is absolutely perfect. Okay, so at this point, your seedlings are looking fantastic indoors under their lights, but you can't just move them outside. Whoa, no, the shock would be way too much.
All right, let's move on to tip #9.
This process is called hardening off. It's all about gradually getting your plants used to the intense outdoor world. We're talking direct sun, wind, and changing temperatures. Skipping this step leads to transplant shock, which can scorch their leaves, totally stunt their growth, or even kill them. It's a huge deal. You cannot rush this process. It takes about 1 to 2 weeks. You start with just an hour or two in a fully shaded, protected spot. Then, day by day, you slowly increase their time outside and gradually introduce them to more sunlight. And the most important rule of all, you always bring them back inside at night. No exceptions.
And finally, the final move. Your plants are hardened off, they're tough, and it is time to transplant them into their permanent home. You're in the home stretch.
But wait, when is the right moment? This checklist is your best friend.
You absolutely must wait until all danger of frost is gone. But just as important are those night temperatures and the soil temperature. Remember, chilies are tropical plants. They hate the cold. Once the weather is right and your plants are a good sturdy size, you are ready to go. And where you plant them matters immensely. Chilies are total sun worshippers, so they need a spot that gets at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun. They also despise wet feet, so the soil has to drain well to prevent root rot. And finally, a little shelter from strong wind will help protect the stems when they get heavy with all those delicious chilies later on.
Okay, and here is a crucial pro tip for the transplant itself. Always handle the seedling by its leaves, never the stem. Think about it. A plant can regrow a damaged leaf, but a crushed or snapped stem, that's almost always game over. This one simple technique will save you so much heartbreak.
You did it! You got through the hardest part. Your plants are toughened up, they're ready for their final home, and now it's just a little bit of ongoing care that's going to make sure you get an absolutely amazing harvest.
So here are the keys to keeping your plants happy all summer long. First, water deeply, but not too often, and always right at the base of the plant. Once you start seeing flowers, switch to a fertilizer that's designed for blooms. That'll give you more chilies, not just more leaves. Keep an eye out for pests, and hey, if your plant is getting tall, give it a little support with a stake so it doesn't break under the weight of all those delicious peppers.
And that just about brings us to the end. We have gone all the way from one tiny seed to a thriving plant that's ready to produce. So really, the only question left is, what's your chili adventure going to look like? Are you going to start with something mild and smoky, or are you ready to jump right in and challenge the super hots? The choice is all yours. Happy growing!